So, to be honest, I initially didn't want to make this video. You guys know I upload every Wednesday and Sunday, so I actually had a really, really cool vlog planned out that I spent hours editing with me and my friend exploring Miami. But with everything that's been going on, I think that it would be extremely wrong and disrespectful to upload that and just ignore the bigger issue that has been going on and that is currently going on with what recently happened with the murder of George Floyd. This video is going to be completely raw, like no fancy edits, no background music. You might hear my parents yelling because they're like outside of my room, like working from home. But what's important about this video, or what I want to make this video about, is not even the video. Like, honestly, fuck this video. It's just about the message that I want to send, where I talk about like my feelings, what I really think, and I don't know, maybe I can influence some people. This is the first time I ever do a video like this on any social media, or just share anything like this on social media, whether it be YouTube or Instagram. I'm not a politically involved individual, like, at all. I don't lean to one side or the other. I don't get involved into like politics or political figures, like literally zero. When it comes to like social things, I guess you could call me more progressive because I'm very open-minded. I do believe in things like same-sex marriage, racial equality, but when it comes to like fighting for the cause, when it comes to that, I'll be honest, I really don't do much. I usually am quiet, and honestly, I do get scared when it comes to controversial things like this, but this shouldn't be a controversy. And over the past few days, I've just been thinking and reflecting, and I want to be proactive about this. I've been motivated by social media, obviously. My friends have been posting a lot about it, and I've been seeing like all the peaceful protests that have been going on, and I just want to raise awareness. Initially, when I saw the video of George Floyd being on the ground with the police officer having his knee on his neck, it was disturbing to watch. It was super disturbing to watch. And this was when the issue, I guess, wasn't as widespread as it is now. So I really didn't know what was going on. And my hope was that it would end with the cop putting the knee out and having George Floyd stand up. And as we know, unfortunately, that didn't happen, and he was murdered. My opinion about it should be the same one as everybody else's. It was fucked up. It was completely fucked up, inhumane, unacceptable. I don't think there's any justification to go in opposite direction. Like, I don't think anybody could say, "Oh, it was fine." That you just can't say it. Nobody should have that maneuver, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. Nobody should have a knee placed on their neck for fucking 8 minutes. It's messed up, especially as a cop. I know that cops, they're very big on the whole like protect the community. We're all about safety, but how the fuck is you putting a knee on another human's neck for 8 minutes and allowing him to die a benefit for the community? It isn't, and that's my thought on the video. There's just inhumane, and there's nothing you can say that could make somebody think the other way. Over the past few days, the issue went from being just about the case to a bigger picture and a bigger issue in our country, which is racism, police brutality, hatred, inequality in the Black and African American community. And it opened up my eyes to like the bigger picture. Let me start off by talking about the whole police brutality issue that has been going on with Black people and African Americans. It has been going on for many years, and I'll be honest, I've been selfish about it, and I'm pretty sure other people have also been selfish and ignored the issue. Because what happens is that these cases, they make it really big into the news for like a good period, like maybe a month or two. Life goes on, you forget about it, and then the next case happens. what we have to do is prevent that next case from happening. This was the George Floyd case. There shouldn't be another case. There shouldn't be a case in the future where we look back and say, oh, that's what they did to George Floyd. Because there's been too many cases already at this point. And it's messed up. It's insanely inhumane. I think that's a proper word to use. Inhumane. Nobody should be getting that treatment. The black community should not be treated that way. Hispanic community should not be treated that way. Nobody should be brutalized by the police, similar to the cases that we've seen in the past. It just shouldn't happen. Something else to consider, which is something that I really didn't think about, is that these cases of injustice, those cases that you see, like all the major ones, like the Trayvon Martin, now with the George Floyd, those are only the ones that are being publicized heavily on social media, on the news. That means that there's many other cases of police brutality, hostility towards Black or African Americans that we don't know about. Some people might disagree with me on this one, but I do believe that there are good and bad cops, same way there are good and bad people. I do think that there are cops that are doing the right things. They do protect the community. They are, they do treat everybody equally. But as a system, as a whole entire police system in the country, it does have to change. Whether it's through retraining, better education, less use of violence, something has to be done going forward. In my opinion, the police is heavily armed. And I kind of understand that. It's because, since guns and other firearms are allowed, they have to be armed to protect themselves and all that, but sometimes they use that to their advantage. They use that to their advantage in cases where they don't have to use it. So I don't know. Something has to be done. I'm not a police leader. I don't work with cops. I'm not a cop. But I am somebody who could say that the system is not right. The next thing that I want to talk about, as a college student specifically, is education and inequality, racial inequality when it comes to education in Black and African American communities. And I think it's really obvious. Growing up in Miami, you kind of see that disparity. You have kids going to $60,000 a year private schools, high schools, not college, high schools. And then you also have, unfortunately, you have students in the inner city who they don't have the same education background or foundation as these kids who can afford it. Me personally, I went to a high school where I had everything. There were kids that were lower class, middle class like myself, upper class, so I kind of got to see everything. But unfortunately, some of those kids that are lower class and go to these lower funded schools don't have the opportunity to even go to a regular public school, and it's mainly because of location and where they live. And something needs to be done about that. I know there's magnet programs that have kind of done a good job, but the only problem with magnet programs is that you have to have good grades. In middle school, you have to be what we like to call a good student. And it's really hard to be a good student when you are in a lower income Black neighborhood where there are other issues going on like violence. You might, there's statistics that say that people that live in these areas have more family issues. Some kids don't have time to focus on school because they actually have to work and provide for their family. So there is an inequality there. And also moving on to college, guys, college is expensive. I'm super, super fortunate and privileged that I go to UM, which is a private school. I don't pay out of pocket. I have scholarships. But here's the thing, in order to get those scholarships, I worked my ass off. And how did I work my ass off? My parents paid for tutors. They paid for tutors so that I could learn and do great. Some of these students in lower incoming Black communities don't have the money for tutoring. So I'm going to be honest, initially I used to be oh yeah, everybody can just be smart, everybody can learn, but it doesn't work like that. Everything has a foundation. And if you don't have a foundation and you don't have the right materials that you need to succeed, it's much harder to do it. Like I will say that I am in an advantage compared to other students, and it shouldn't be that way. It should be that is everybody has the accessibility to an equal education. And as we all know in this country, it's not the case. Obviously the big issue going on is racism, and I wish that somehow there's just a way to end it. I wish that it was over. Like, I wish it could be the perfect world where everybody gets along. But it's been years. It's been many years, and it doesn't end. It doesn't end. We always use this phrase kind of like, oh, we can't let history repeat itself, but it's been repeating itself. It's a hard conversation, but it shouldn't be a conversation. Like, racism just shouldn't exist. Me personally, if I could give advice, it's just to do small changes that don't ruin somebody else's life because of the color of their skin. Everybody should have an equal say, an equal right, and it shouldn't be that right or that standard shouldn't be decreased because the color of their skin or their background. Growing up in Miami, I was fortunate enough to grow up with people with a bunch of different backgrounds. I'd go to school with people of different places, different skin colors. And the only reason I say this is because I know there's that video going on where it's like a little black kid and a little white kid and they hug. It's a really adorable video. I'm pretty sure you've seen it. And then there's that phrase that's like, you're not born hating anybody or a specific group. You kind of develop that hate. And I agree with that 100%. There's that saying too that's like, everybody's born with a blank slate and you develop ideas. And I think racism is the same. People develop these hatred ideas and these false beliefs, which is why I think racism just doesn't end. And it keeps happening. It keeps happening in our country. Actually, not even in our country only. Racism is all over the place. I might not be able to tell you how to end racism. I don't think anybody can give you that answer. If not, we would have done it already. But what I can give you is what I think you could do to, help the situation. If you think, you have hate inside of you, if you think that you are racist, if you think that you have wrong ideologies, honestly, my advice would be don't use those ideologies to make somebody else's life worse. I think the first step is to accept, know what you think, know what you believe. But if you think it's going to ruin somebody else's life, don't use it against them ever, because that's exactly what racism is and how it develops. You have a false idea, you believe it, you see somebody that you can apply that idea to, and then an incident happens and it's something that could be avoided if you just don't trigger it. So that's my advice. That's just my personal opinion. But I think that, for everybody that's been very active, for everybody that's been going to protest, we just know that it has to end. Like, there's no other way to say it. Racism has to end. We all should be and deserve to be treated equal as people. We all live in the same planet. I know it's a very cliche thing to say, but we should be treated equal. In terms of the protesting and the rioting and all that, let me just say this. Yes, there were riots, whatever you want to call it, looting, but at the same time, most of the protests were peaceful. And I think what's messed up is that a lot of people are getting it confused. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, the protesters are like ruining the city. No, you have two groups. You have the people that just want to create love and respect, and then you have people that are messed up and just want to take advantage of the situation and like loot everything. The people that are being peaceful, respectful, they're doing it the right way. The people that are like not like the people that loot, they don't care about equality as a thing. They just want to like loot and make a benefit out of it. That's something else that has to be like understood. Something else with the protests. I know that police have been using brutality even with the peaceful protesters, which is still messed up because you would expect that police would be like, okay, you know what, we messed up. And even police, like in other cities, they'd be like, okay, like we can't follow that example. We have to lead our own example. But no, it's still happening. It's still happening where people are being insanely peaceful, and police just like ruins it. And it's unfortunate, but it's happening. It's happening. It's happening, and we have to be aware of that. Now, with the looting and rioting, I am completely against it. Especially after this whole coronavirus thing, we were very big on, small businesses, preserving small businesses, going and supporting small businesses. And small businesses have been affected super negative enough by coronavirus, and now they're literally being destroyed and burned down. And that's just wrong. That's not going to solve anything. And I do know that people have said to me, because I actually got a DM, people have said, oh, like, you shouldn't focus on the violence of burning and looting. What you have to focus on is the issue that's causing it. The only thing that I have to say, though, that's kind of against it is that the people who are doing all the looting and rioting are different than the peaceful protesters. That's my only thing. But I do agree to some point that yes, I do think we can't focus. Like, we can't look at this and be like, oh, our country's messed up for like looting and rioting. We have to look at it and be like, our country's messed up because racism is still a thing, because inequality is still a thing. So we can't shift our attention when it comes to the looting and rioting. I think that's the main thing. We have to like keep focus on the real issue. I know the president sent out like the National Guard. Like I said, I'm not a politically involved individual. I don't think he should have done that. The only thing that really, my opinion on that, and I've seen this opinion also on social media, so I'm not the only one who thinks this, is that during the coronavirus, like at its peak, we were freaking out about testing. We were freaking out about supplies. We were running out of supplies. Doctors and nurses were like helpless, and everything was being delayed. Oh, we don't have this, we don't have that. Like, there was a lot of talk going on. But as soon as you say the military, it happens like this. It literally happens insanely fast. As somebody who wants to work in the healthcare field, it's scary to think that we as a country care more about violence and care more about like having guns and this whole like military approach to things than the health system and people's health and people's well-being. So that's my own personal opinion. You can respect it, you can go against it, but that's just what I have to say. This is my video, and that is what I want to say about it. I want to end the video with this message. I'm considered a minority. I say it like this because in Miami, I'm not really a minority, but in the rest of the country I am. That's because in Miami, a lot of people are like Hispanic. But I'm white at the end of the day. My ancestors are European. So at the end of the day, I'm white. I'll be honest. I'm privileged. I'm honest. I'm privileged. My parents are immigrants. They went through struggles too. But at the end of the day, I am privileged. I've never worried about paying a bill. I've never worried about food. I always have vacations. I'm a very privileged individual, and I accept that. And the reason I'm saying this, I'm not saying it to show off. I'm not saying it to say, oh, I'm a badass. I'm saying it because I want to educate other people that are in the same situation that I am, that don't know what to do. Because at first, I really had no idea what to do. I was scared. I didn't want to speak up. I didn't want to do anything about it. I was just scrolling through Instagram like if nothing happened. But you have to be aware of what's going on. And I know there's another, I know I'm saying a lot of things about social media, but there's this thing on social media, I think it's like, I know I never will be, but I will understand, and I do believe that. If you're a privileged person like me, realize that the situation is worse than what you think it is. Just because you're privileged, it doesn't mean that everybody else is privileged. Racism is still going on. Police brutality is going on. Inequality is going on. And if you just become more aware of it and educate yourself about it, it will make a huge difference. If you just ignore the fact, if you just ignore it, if you're like, oh, I'm privileged, whatever, I'm going to move on my life like unfortunate people, that's fucked up. You're just becoming part of the problem, because that ignorance is what has led up to the hatred and the inequality, the racism that still lives to this day. So what I have to say is, like, if you don't want to be active, I get it. I initially was not active because I was scared, but just be aware and be educated. Those are the two things I have to say. Be aware, be educated. And the third thing, don't disrespect others and understand. That's the kind of the key thing. Don't hate other people. Don't do something diminishing towards other people based off the color of their skin, based off their beliefs, based on their ideologies. We're all people at the end of the day. We all have the right to be treated equally and do what we want. There shouldn't be this issue of racism going on. There shouldn't be things going on that are going on. So we just have to work together to somehow end this, and it's a collaborative effort. I can't end something, but together we can. If each of us do a small change, it'll make a big difference. But yeah, I kind of let it all out in this video. I never do videos like this. I know there's a lot of donations that you can do. There's a lot of different like relief bonds that are like all over social media, all over online. Honestly, there isn't one specifically that I support or that I like will tell you to like donate to. But if you have the financial means, you could definitely do that to help out. But personally, there are many ways to help out with this issue that are free. Just by educating yourself, being respectful, and informing others that you see that are doing wrong within your community. So yeah, I did the video, I spoke out, and yeah, that's really all I need to say. And thank you for watching this.